Hello, everyone. So today I want to tell you all that I discovered a big gem of a channel. Now, personally, if you're watching this, I don't think you'd like this, and you shouldn't like it because it's just this video is filled with. I mean, the guy's video is filled with drama, but it's just really funny. So watch this. This is funny. Faggot, retard.
Why is Amazon paying me $63,000 a month? Well, I didn't make this kind of money selling yoga mats and toasters, and I damn sure wasn't talking to my friends in the.
So why won't you give the same responsibility to Donald Trump? He was the guy in charge.
What a fraud you are. Can I talk?
What a fraud I am. What have I said that's fraudulent?
Fraud.
What have I said that's
You're
fraudulent?
Here, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Policy advisor for Defenders of Wildlife. They helped implement this, and that had nothing to do with Gavin Newsom. So now let's move on to.
So one thing I have to say about this guy is I think he's a little too aggressive. I guess he kind of doesn't play by rules, because it's when people put the same aggression to him, he says wait, you're not going to do on my show. But you know what? I do like him because he's putting these MAGA people in their place, and I just want to say this is good. Oops.
Something else. I proved you wrong there. What else do you disagree with me on? Because you failed miserably there.
Why didn't Gavin Newsom get rid of it?
Okay, I'll answer that for you. First of all,
why?
I'm answering it for you. Republicans and Democrats in the state have to come together and figure out a bill that would work. It's not Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state, that can say, hey, I don't like those conservation laws.
What's his job?
I'm trying to explain it to you. The problem is you don't know how to listen. All right, there you go. Okay, don't hang up on him. You don't say the F word on this show. We are having a conversation. That means I'm answering your question, and it's time for you to listen. I'm trying to educate you. Calling me the F word or something else is not going to be good for either of us, okay? I just gave you the answer. I'll repeat myself again. Ashley Overhouse, clearly you don't know who she is because you didn't do any research on this and you want to blame Gavin Newsom for everything. She is with the California Water Policy Advisory for the Defenders of Wildlife. They're some of the people that implemented these conservation laws. That has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom. Now, Republicans and Democrat lawmakers, not Gavin Newsom, could come together and try to get rid of these laws. They could do that. You can blame both sides for that one. But you're the one who specifically blamed Gavin Newsom, who's only abiding by the conservation laws that are already put in place. So now that I've exhausted myself by trying to respectfully give you an answer, give me something else that I've said. What do you mean, no? I just gave you the explanation. Those are facts. I just told you, you dumbass.
I mean, this is entertaining. This is funny.
How stupid is this guy? I just told you. So by your standards, if Donald Trump is the president of the United States, would you blame Donald Trump for these wildfires? Because technically he's in charge. How stupid are you?
No, he's not.
Was Donald Trump? No, he's not. No, he's not. During COVID, when our country shut down, who was in charge?
This talk.
Answer the question. By your
ask a question.
No. You shut up and I ask you a question. That's how it works now because I just proved you're a complete idiot. But that's okay. I like talking to idiots like you. I like educating people like you. By your standards, if you're the governor, or in this case, the president, who's in charge? You ask the question. Okay. So when we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a
Well, I mean, here's a person have to say about this guy. So basically, I mean, some people deserve it, but like, it's just how he puts down this. But like, I still can't explain it right, but like it, but it's just he's kind of provoking him, but at the same time, the guy's also provoking him. So that makes sense.
A day from COVID, and our country was shut down. When COVID struck and we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day and our economy was shut down, basically our entire country was shut down. I ask you the question, quote, as you said, who was in charge? Who was in charge?
Let's talk about COVID.
Nope. You're going to answer my question. We are talking about COVID. Answer my damn question, you doofus. No. You're going to answer my question because I answered yours. And if you don't answer my question, I'm moving on to the next caller. You asked me a question. I had to explain it to you twice, and you probably still don't understand. You just said, quote, who was in charge? When we were losing, I need you to pay attention. I'm asking you a question, MAGA. You see, when we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day from COVID, and basically our entire country was shut down, by your standards, I ask you the same question.
I put it there.
Who was in charge? Answer the question.
Here. Okay, I'll answer your question.
Who was in charge?
Trump was.
Okay, thank you. So why won't you hold Donald Trump to the same standard that you hold Gavin Newsom to? See, it was Donald Trump that allowed governors of states to shut down their states. But Donald Trump had the authority, and he decided to leave it up to the governors. So why won't you give the same responsibility to Donald Trump? He was the guy in charge.
What a fraud you are. Can I talk?
What a fraud I am? What have I said that's fraudulent?
Fraud.
What have I said that's fraudulent?
Fraud. Here, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
There you go.
Go ahead. Tell me something, fraud. Go ahead, fraud. Tell me something, fraud.
You might want to
tell me something, fraud. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Notice I didn't want to respond to what I said. You're a fraud. Okay, what did I say that's a fraud? You're a fraud. Okay, why am I a fraud? Wasn't Gavin Newsom the guy in charge? But you see, when Donald Trump is in charge, he doesn't want to put any responsibility on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Just look at what I got in the mail. It's Elon Musk's latest invention.
Okay, let's see another one.
So why won't you?
Okay. I love this guy, Brian Shapiro. Oh.
Well, there were so many irregularities in regarding to the drop boxes. How about Zuckerberg? $419 million into the inner city.
Not true.
To get the vote out.
There's no. Oh, really? Did you have a problem with Elon Musk giving $1 billion to people to register to vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, hi, Brian. And, you know, today's comments on Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and Kash Patel, you stated outrightly that Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset.
I believe she is, yeah.
How can you make that?
Sure.
How can you make that statement? What's the proof?
Sure. So, first of all, Tulsi Gabbard, like Donald Trump, failed to call out Vladimir Putin for anything. In fact, when she is asked, like when Donald Trump is asked, who do you want to win this war in the Ukraine? If you're not willing to answer that question and say we want Ukraine, our allies, to win after they were invaded by an evil, murderous dictator, then I think most people would consider that person an asset to Russia. Number two, do you remember after 9/11, when we had terrorists across the country, including the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, celebrating and jumping up? Well, guess what? After it was announced that Tulsi Gabbard was picked by Donald Trump, there's video evidence that when the Kremlin and Russians learned about this, they were doing the same types of celebrating. So you have somebody that is not willing to call out Vladimir Putin for anything, by the way, the war atrocities, you name it, the war crimes, you name it. They're actually praising Vladimir Putin the way Donald Trump does, the way Donald Trump coddles him every day, sending him COVID test kits during COVID, right? And you have a woman who also has cozied up to Assad. Now, Republicans, even MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill have said that has raised serious concerns, and they want to ask her about that. She has never called out Assad, who was an evil murderous dictator. Thank God I say was. And guess who brought Assad in and protected him and his family? Guess, JD.
Who?
The Russians. Yes, that's right.
Oh.
Vladimir Putin. So I stand by everything I've said about Tulsi Gabbard. There's plenty of evidence to back up everything that I just said.
Well,
she is unqualified. She is unqualified for the position, and she is dangerous. Go ahead.
Let me say something else. You know, she's a colonel in the Reserve National Guard and controls the National Guard of 2 states.
Which doesn't take away anything that I just said, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, but why wouldn't she be investigated by the Army if she was an asset, a dangerous, treasonous asset?
Interesting you brought that up. Interesting you brought that up because she was actually on a flight list. If you can look that up.
Oh, a guy by me of Pushing the Limits on YouTube. He's entertaining, but it's about politics. Are you leaving?
No, he's just getting his controller. I'll probably change my shoes because a lot of the shoes.
If you don't believe me,
I know the whole story about her and her husband.
Okay, so it's not like she hasn't been investigated, and it's not like there aren't a ton of concerns. And by the way, she won't talk about Assad now. She won't even bring up his name when asked about it. So yes, I'm not the only person that has these concerns. I know you might think that only me or only lefties might think that way. I'm not a lefty.
No.
Okay, then I'm misjudging you, but I'm telling you that there are a lot of Republicans and even MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill that have serious concerns with her.
I would think that the senators, Democrats who are in charge of the chairs, and Republicans who are the next in line on the foreign affairs committees would know about any of this.
Some of them do.
When she comes up for confirmation, then maybe we'll get an up or down vote.
Well, I hope that they do that. But you mentioned
precise issue.
You mentioned a couple other people, and I didn't bring up Kash Patel today. I think you did, but I'm happy to talk about Kash Patel with you. But I look at a guy like a Pete Hegseth, a man who is a despicable human being, who has been accused allegedly of rape. And I understand.
I heard it.
I know.
Heard it.
So you dismiss all that stuff? He openly admits.
No,
that
I didn't. I only have so much time. You have mentioned Patel. You know, he was a federal prosecutor in the U.S.
Right, and Pete Hegseth also served this country as well. Just because you're an attorney, there are millions of attorneys in this country. Doesn't mean you're qualified to run the FBI. Kash Patel, first of all the guy cares about is money. He's a grifter, selling his boots and his shirts. He's talking about going after people like me, going after members of the media that are not willing to say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Sorry, it's my ticks.
Election. How do we know this? Because he said it in a podcast. He wants to shut down the FBI headquarters and turn it into a museum. And you think that's the guy that should be running the FBI, who's only going to go after Donald Trump's enemies, including members of the media?
He just wants. He's not going to shut down the FBI if he becomes the director. He just wants to maybe move.
Faggot! White power! White power! White power! White power! White power! Nigger. Negro, faggot.
Some of the FBI agents in the field.
Well, he said he was going to turn that very building. He said he was going to turn that very building into a museum, so we shouldn't take him for his word.
Instead of keeping them all in Washington, D.C.
Should we be going after members of the media that are not willing to say that Trump won the 2020 election? Because Kash Patel wants to do that, he said.
Of course not.
Okay, well, okay, I agree with you.
We all know that there's a lot of venting and a lot of
venting.
Characters on both sides that talk out of both sides of their mouth.
Okay, so can you give me an example of a Democrat that's a high member of office in the Joe Biden administration that said he wants to arrest people for not agreeing with them?
Give an example.
This is the aircraft carrier shelter you seized, previously owned by a small faction of about 800 people.
Retard.
I would
Retard.
think Adam Schiff might fall in that category.
Adam Schiff has
Retard.
never said he wanted to
Retard.
arrest Republicans
Look at
because they
that.
might not agree with him on an election result. So that is completely false. Can you give me an example of a Democrat that has said the enemy within, let's go after and arrest people, either civil suits or arrest criminal charges, if they're not willing to say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election? That's what Kash Patel said 3 months ago.
How long are we going to keep milking that 2020 election cow?
You're the one,
It's over.
JD, you're the one who just brought up Kash Patel. And I'm giving you examples of things Kash Patel said. By the way, it was Patel that brought it up 3 months ago on a podcast. I'm just reiterating the things he said he wants to do if he's in charge, in this case, the FBI. He said himself 3 months ago that he wants to go after members of the media that are not willing to say that Trump won and talk about the 2020 fraud. And there was no fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election. I'm only bringing this up because you don't seem to have a problem with that.
No, I do. If that's
that's
true,
good.
It is,
I
JD.
think
I'm not making it up.
I think his main beef with the media is when he worked with Nunes on diffusing and completely destroying the Russian collusion with Mueller investigation. He was intimately involved in that, and he found out all the things that the Democrats are trying to do that they manufactured in the Russian collusion with Trump prior to during the campaign in 2016 and after he was elected.
All right, so let's talk about that. I'm happy
all of it turned out to
that's
be
not
totally
true.
baloney.
Okay, so first of all, that's not true. There's many people in that Mueller report that would say that there are multiple examples of obstruction, and even Mueller under oath said that as well. So I would disagree with your characterization, number one. Number two, you talked about you have a problem with people that manufacture things, okay? Let's talk about that for a moment. When the man who you supported and voted for manufactured a claim that the election was stolen, did you have a problem with that? Did you have a problem with the 8 investigations in Benghazi when Hillary
Hopefully he
was
says
accused
yes.
of crimes and Republicans?
You want to stay on one question at a time?
Okay. Do you have a problem with Republicans?
You started off with the 2020 election.
Sure. Do you have a problem with that manufacturing, as
Well, he is staying on topic.
you pointed out? Were you crying to high heaven?
Well, the full spectrum of the election is not what Trump says as far as being cheating is what have you. The things that happened prior to the election with the Pennsylvania legislature, with the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, how they changed the rules, how they changed the election law.
Said the election was stolen and the Democrats cheated. That is a manufactured statement. You don't have a problem with that statement?
He's speaking in broad terms that you and I don't understand.
No. He's speaking. No. I understand
all the things that were done.
I understand
all the things that were
JD,
done pre-election.
I understand it very clearly, and I'll explain it to you. And if you disagree, that's fine. I understand it very clearly, and I'm going to speak in truths here very clearly. If Donald Trump loses, the election was rigged. If Donald Trump wins, we don't have to have the conversation of election integrity and everything went well. It's very simple, JD. He loses, it's rigged and they cheated. He wins, everything worked out great. Why is that so hard for you to admit?
Well, there were so many irregularities regarding to the drop boxes. How about Zuckerberg? $419 million into the inner city.
Not true.
To get the vote out.
There's no. Oh, really? Did you have a problem with Elon Musk giving $1 million to people to register to vote for Donald Trump? I didn't hear you complaining about that. You want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg and you laugh? Did you have a problem with Elon Musk weeks before the election?
Yes, I did. I thought it was stupid.
Okay. Well, so that's just stupid, but you don't want to bring that up, but when it comes to Zuckerberg,
you brought it up. I can't.
Because I'm bringing up your hypocrisy. That's why, JD.
Before I forget, where's Meathead? Where's Chris Wynn? I miss him.
Well, I don't know where Chris is. You could give him a call and you could ask him, my friend. I appreciate the call.
You don't
JD.
have him on your show?
I appreciate the call, JT. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. So let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg. He gave $419 million to inner city youth. I don't know whatever JD was bringing up. But when it comes to Elon Musk, millions of dollars, giving people $1 million to vote for Donald Trump. Oh, well, that was stupid. But let's move on. Let's talk about something else. He has a problem with people manufacturing issues and problems and lies. Okay, that's the entire Republican Party today. They manufacture stuff about drag queen reading, like the sky is falling. They manufacture stuff about trans women going into women's bathrooms because they're all going to assault you. They manufacture things about illegals. They make it sound like every person in this country that's illegal is going to rape your children and kill your family. The entire Republican Party manufactures things. They want to blame Joe Biden for all of their problems, for their hangnail. Forget about the war in the Middle East. Forget about the war in the Ukraine. Inflation up all over the world. But let's manufacture, to use JD's terms, that it's all Joe Biden's fault. They want to manufacture everything. The entire Republican Party is the manufactured party. They want to manufacture the fact that Joe Biden has committed crimes and he's a war criminal. They want to manufacture the fact that all the problems in the world are all Joe Biden's fault. But then when Donald Trump takes office, let's blame George Soros. Yeah, okay. The man who manufactures $3 Bibles in China and sells them for $60 here. Yeah, okay, that guy.
Trump is playing them for fools. His voters for fools. Faggot! Faggot! Retard! 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 Okay, let's see this.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room with...
Dude, you're speaking of ignorance.
I'm speaking of ignorance when you can't answer a question that I've asked 5 times. You just said Tim Scott is in. You just said Tim Scott is in Donald Trump's administration. You're wrong.
Your meanings of is that somebody doesn't want is that so-called brown people to how this or that is wrong. Because if that was true, we would have been exterminated.
Okay, so hold on a second. I'm confused. This brown people, this or that is wrong. Can you explain what you mean by that? Because I'm confused.
What I mean by that, as an African American, and the past woman on the show that was African American, you wouldn't even be alive today if the Republicans were that ruthless. Who were the ones that lynched African Americans?
They were ruthless.
It was the Democratic Party.
They were ruthless.
What are you talking about?
This is such a common thing. Like, people don't get that that the party switch was real, and that the same type of people who were Democrats back then would be Republicans now. Like, it's that hard for people. Cuck.
About you don't think the Republican? I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about, your past caller saying what you were just explaining about that water fountain comment.
Yeah.
Is that we're not allowed to drink at water fountains when we clearly are, just like everybody
Okay,
else.
so Brandon, you're obviously not, with all due respect, good at listening. I didn't say that today Black people weren't allowed to drink the same water fountains as white people. I did not say that. That is not the case. However, what I did say was, back in the day, a
few calls ago.
Okay, I understand, but you didn't listen to what I said. Years ago, Black people weren't allowed to vote. Years ago,
under the Democrats.
Okay, so Brandon, do you mean to tell me that you blame slavery on just the Democrats in one side of the aisle, that our founding fathers were all Democrats? What are you talking about? That's not true.
Abraham Lincoln was a Republican who freed from the...
I understand.
And Abraham Lincoln could care less. According to history, Abraham Lincoln could care less about slavery. He only did it to help the country.
Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Are you're not answering my question? Are you claiming
no Democrats
why
against
are the Republicans
DEI?
the problem?
Yeah, that's a good point, Leonard. Let's talk about 2024, which I think is a lot more important than anything we can talk about the past. Who are the ones who are against DEI? Are those Republicans or Democrats?
Is that Republican?
No.
And who's against affirmative
action?
action?
Yeah. Who's against affirmative action? Republicans or Democrats?
You're meaning abortion?
I said affirmative action.
Like in a college where they have to have a certain level of minorities, like Harvard or Yale
or Princeton.
So we've already established
That's affirmative
DEI.
action.
Republicans are against DEI.
without having an education system. And
Okay,
actually
so
knowing
who's
yourself.
who's against affirmative action? Republicans or Democrats?
I would say, in actuality, Democrats were the first
That's
start
not accurate.
Okay,
in history.
it's hard to have a conversation with you when 99.9% of Democrats in office today believe in affirmative action, and the overwhelming majority of Republicans are against affirmative action. So with all due respect, sir, you're wrong. If you're going to talk about the past and history, you have to talk about what's going on in this
Why do the
country
Democrats
today.
need to control everything over us?
Why can't you
Just
just
like
admit
slavery.
that it's a Republican policy? Just you're Republican. Say, yes, it is a Republican policy, whether you agree with it or not. But you can't say it's a Democratic policy. It's not.
So everything Democrats have done, if they have control over it, and rightly so, there's no problem on that front. Why has it turned out to, still to this day, 80 or 50 years later, hasn't turned right for people of color? Why the false hypocritical thing?
It hasn't turned right for people of color. That is a very generic statement, number one. And number two, the overwhelming majority of MAGA Republicans do not even, the overwhelming majority of Republicans do not even, the overwhelming, are you going to keep interrupting me? The overwhelming majority of Republicans do not even believe systemic racism exists. How many black people are going to be in Donald Trump's administration? Can you name them? Do you know how many black people that are going to be in Trump's
They want
administration?
to cut the funding for black small businesses. That's one of their policies.
I agree.
That's Republican.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that.
He can admit that and maybe not agree
He
with it.
won't admit it because he doesn't even know what he's talking
See?
about.
You're
How many people are in
prejudiced
Donald
right now.
Trump's administration that are black?
Oh, I'll tell you who
They got
is
left out
part of
in the
ministry. Tim Scott.
No, Tim
and
Scott
a
is
lot more
wrong.
others.
Wrong. Dun, 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 dun. Tim Scott is not in Donald Trump's administration. You doofus and ill-informed, uneducated voter. I will ask you again. What black people are in Donald Trump's incoming administration? Tim Scott is not.
People listen to them like you.
I'm asking you to answer the question. How many people are in Donald Trump's administration that are black? It ain't Tim Scott. Wrong. Let's try number two, where we can win more stupid prizes.
Donaldson?
Dude, you're speaking of ignorance.
I'm speaking of ignorance, and you can't answer a question that I've asked 5 times. You just said Tim Scott is in. You just said Tim Scott is in Donald Trump's administration. You're wrong. Can you name me somebody that's in Donald Trump's
You're making
administration?
yourself a loser like you're calling.
Okay, there you go again. See, he calls me a
Yeah,
loser.
but
Can't
he
answer
doesn't
the
know
question.
what else to say. He
Yeah.
doesn't have anything
You
else.
vote against your own self-interest. You are
Retard.
another uneducated and ill-informed voter. And
Retard.
quite frankly, you're an
Retard.
embarrassment. Tim Scott is not
Nigger.
in Donald
Nigger.
Trump's
Nigger.
administration.
Nigger.
But you know what?
Nigger.
He'd probably
Nigger.
hire somebody like you. Give him a call.
No, in order to speak to someone like that, Brian, in my opinion, he would have to. You'd have to have an equivalent. He'd have to understand DEI. He'd have to understand affirmative
Yeah.
action. He'd have to understand Jim Crow. And he's just just spouting out
It's again
talking points.
and thought that Tim Scott was in Donald Trump's administration.
For anyone struggling with ear ringing, do not drink water. You may not know this, but the biological reason why some people struggle with ringing, buzzing, and swishing sounds known as tinnitus has nothing to do with their ears. This recently discovered phenomenon is the cause of hearing complications that can persist for decades, and is why some have crystal clear hearing into their late ages. A study conducted in
Okay, let's watch one more video.
Robbie, where are the spoons? Give me a second. I want to add some brown sugar. And I'll put some whipped cream on afterwards. Oh, this is a coffee made cold. It's pretty good. You're over here hiding. I told you, I got you. Over here hiding shit from me, Roberto? Hiding shit.
Okay, let's see this.
You're somebody that served as a police officer for decades. Let me tell you something here. And I admit it here. When MAGA Republicans talk about how they back the blue, they are full of crap.
Yeah,
Why
they
do I
are.
say that? Well, if an officer is attacked in any situation, I will call it out, but they only talk about it, for example, when it comes to Black Lives Matter. But you see, if a police officer is attacked on January 6th. Donald Trump will call the people who attack those officers and beat them up with their own batons as hostages and patriots, and he will pardon them. It's only back the blue when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
Donald Trump went to a wake of a fallen officer, terrible story, who lost his life, brutalized, and it was a brutal story caught on video in New York City. It happened under Joe Biden. Now, listen, I don't care what president it happens under. It's horrific, it's terrible, and most police officers like Leonard are good people, they're heroes. Yeah, there are some bad apples in there, sure, but for the most part, of course I support police officers. But you see, there were officers that were fallen, sadly, under the Trump administration as well. Did he go to any of those wakes? I'll give you another example. Donald Trump says he backs those brave men and women in uniform, right? He always talks about that, even though he dodged the military. He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captures the suckers and losers statement. However, Donald Trump didn't go to any funerals of fallen soldiers under the Trump administration, but only under the Biden administration. And in fact, you had 4 fallen soldiers, their bodies being sent back here last month. Donald Trump chose to not go to that event. What was he doing? What was on his schedule? Was he meeting with a world leader?
Well,
I'll tell you what he
wanted
did.
to blame Biden.
But I'll tell you what he did on that day, Leonard. He was hanging out at Doral Golf Course in Florida. Why? The Live Golf Tournament was there. Donald Trump is in bed with the Saudis, just like Jared Kushner. They were paying him to play on his golf course. He mingled with members of the Saudi government, who, by the way, support terrorism, and members of groups like Hamas. And he decided to do that instead of honoring these 4 soldiers. But what will MAGA Republicans do? They'll blame Joe Biden and be upset for a half a second when Joe Biden looks at his watch. But you see, when things happen under Donald Trump not only does not take accountability for it, but he doesn't do the same things that he would do when it was under Joe Biden. For example, if an undocumented immigrant commits a horrible crime and somebody loses their life, Donald Trump will talk about it till high heaven if it happened under Joe Biden. But those same sorts of crimes did happen under Donald Trump. Does he invite members of those families or those victims to the Republican National Convention or to when he speaks at the State of the Union? No, of course not. Because Donald Trump, number one, doesn't have any empathy. And number two, he only does things if it's politically convenient for him to attack the other side. And when bad things happen under the Trump administration, he only blames the other side.
Yeah. Okay, so one last video. Okay, so this title is really funny. Like, this is saying something. This is saying something.
It looks like the road is clearing up ahead. Would you like to take control?
Yeah.
Hi, Brian.
What's up, John? What's on your mind?
Well, I'd just like to say good luck to Canada as it's election day. And I hope they elect Pierre Poilievre to make Canada great again. We need to forge strong relations with Canada. And I think it would be great if they became our 51st state.
Okay, so let's talk about that, John. Why do you think Canada should be the 51st state?
Because we're funding them. We're
funding. How are we funding Canada? John,
we're constantly receiving the goods.
John,
and we're not receiving anything in return.
John, we receive goods from countries all over the world. Can you please tell me how we're funding Canada?
Because we're giving them too much money. They need to become our state.
What money are we giving them? What money are we giving them? Please be specific. What money are we giving Canada to quote unquote fund them?
We're buying all their goods.
We buy goods. We buy goods. We buy goods from every country around the world. Does that mean we're funding the world? We're not, John. So
yes,
no, John, we're not.
President Trump
John, we're not funding the world. That's not true. You don't know what you're talking about. We're not funding Canada. John, what has Donald Trump done in the first 3 months that you really like?
Immigration.
What about immigration? Tell me. Tell me.
He's getting all the criminal aliens out of here.
He's getting all the criminal aliens out of here. Okay, John. So are you okay with going into churches and synagogues and getting deporting a bunch of non-violent criminals? Are you okay with people getting deported to El Salvador with no due process that have never committed a crime and have no criminal record? Some of whom might not even
process. He committed
no, not true.
violence against
Do you
his
understand?
wife.
Do you understand what the Constitution? What did you just say? What did he do?
He committed domestic violence against his wife.
Where was he convicted on that? What was he convicted of?
There's a report.
No. I didn't ask you if there was a report that you were a child molester. Does that mean you're a child molester? I mean, you might be. I don't know. You see, John,
Benny Johnson.
John, I don't care what Benny Johnson also got paid $400,000 a month paid by the Kremlin. Did you know that, John? I'm happy to educate. Yeah, no, it wasn't fake news because he admitted he got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. That wasn't fake news. What's fake news is what you are saying. So I'm asking you the same question again. You see, in this country, in order to be a woman abuser, okay, you have to be convicted of something. So I'm asking you a very direct question. What was he convicted of? Can you please tell me what were the charges and what was he convicted of?
His wife directly.
No. Just because. So John, because somebody gets accused of something, does that mean they did it? So if somebody in your family or a friend accused you of child molestation, does that mean you did it? John, I need you to pay attention to my question. I'm going to speak very slowly and distinctly. And if you don't know the answer, then you can tell me. That's okay. John, what was Mr. Garcia charged with and what was he convicted of? Please answer the question, sir.
He had a PSA out again.
No, didn't ask you about a PSA. I'm going to ask it now for a fifth time. Why is it with you MAGA deplorables, I have to ask the same question 10 times? But that's okay, John. I'm going to be very patient and accommodative. John, when I ask you the same question 5 times and you can't answer it, it makes you sound stupid. Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, John. Maybe you're not stupid. Maybe you're just ill-informed. But I'm going to ask it now for the 6th time, okay? This is the 6th time. You just said Mr. Garcia abused women. I'm now asking you for the 6th time. What was he charged with and what was he convicted of? Was he found guilty of any crimes, John? Please answer.
Domestic violence.
He was found guilty of domestic violence? No, John. The reason why I asked that question, John, 6 times and you never gave me the correct answer because you're ill-informed and I'm trying to be very nice about this. So, John, Mr. Garcia was never convicted of any violent crime. What you're saying has not been proven in a court of law. So now we can move on to something else, John. Are you okay with someone being deported to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world on a hunch with no criminal record? Are you okay with that?
They deported him to his home country of
No. That wasn't the question. Sir, that wasn't the question. I need you to pay attention. The question wasn't, are you okay with him being deported to his home country? That wasn't the question. I need you to focus. Listen to my question, John, okay? Are you okay with someone with no violent criminal record at all deported to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world and the Supreme Court ruling voting 9-0 that he needs to be sent back and Donald Trump defying the Supreme Court? Are you okay with that? Yes or no?
He didn't defy the Supreme Court.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. What did the Supreme Court rule?
Retard! Facilitate, not he must bring back.
Okay, so what does facilitate mean?
Bring about.
Bring about, right? So how is Donald Trump bring it about, for lack of a better term? What has he done?
No, he didn't. Kelly.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He said no.
No, he didn't.
And he can't really do much about that.
First of all, he didn't ask Bukele to send him back. That is not true. Number 2, he didn't even. First of all, you're wrong. Guess what? Bukele, and I talked about this on the show, another example of you have no idea what you're talking about. Donald Trump was asked about this over the weekend. And Bukele, he was asked. And Trump said he did not ask Bukele. So what you're saying is 100% wrong. In fact, Trump said that over the weekend. So now that we've made it clear that you don't know what you're talking about, other than immigration, are you happy with the fact that Donald Trump pardoned a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists, some of whom beat police officers? Are you okay with people who beat cops getting full pardons, sir?
Not all of the J6 hostages.
Didn't say all of them. Didn't say that. I need you to again pay attention to my question because once again you're not paying attention. I didn't say all of them. Some of those on January 6th beat cops. They pled guilty. Donald Trump pardoned some of those people. So it's a very direct, specific question. Are you okay with the pardons of some of those who beat police officers on January 6th and pled guilty? Are you okay with those pardons?
Are you okay with the pardons?
No. You don't answer a question with a question. I'll answer your question when you answer mine. Answer mine first, okay, dummy? We're not talking about Dr. Fauci. I'm going to hang up on you unless you answer my question.
You want to silence?
I don't want to silence you. I want you to answer my question, dumbass. Okay? Then I'll answer your stupid Dr. Fauci question. That is what we call a pivot, okay, MAGA deplorable? That's what we call a pivot. You answer my question, and then I will answer yours, right? Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask the question, you answer it, and then you ask me a question. That's how a discussion works, okay, dumbass?
Okay, ask away.
Okay, I am.
Away.
I have to repeat it 10 times because you're an idiot, but I'll repeat it again. Are you okay with Donald Trump pardoning specifically those who beat cops on January 6th, some of whom pled guilty? Are you okay with those pardons?
They've already served their time.
No, they didn't. Some of them were, no, you're wrong again. Some of them were sentenced to over 5 years and 10 years. So again, you're wrong. They did not serve their time. So I'm going to ask the same question again, Mr. Misinformation Crap for Brains, okay? Are you okay with some of those on January 6th that were pardoned, some of them beat cops,
Come on,
did
just
not serve
admit
their
it.
full sentences? If they served their full sentences, they wouldn't have been in jail, you idiot. Answer my question, and then I will answer yours.
All right, I'm gonna show you my skill track.
Boy, you are just really crap for brains. Get off my show. Get off my show, you dumbass. You're a waste of my time, you idiot. They already served their time. Let's talk about Dr. Fauci, you freaking imbecile. When Hillary Clinton called people like you deplorables, she specifically was talking about you. You inbred MAGA moron. Get off my show, you crap for brains idiot.
All right. Well, anyways, that's all I have for this video. Bye.